Okay, that's it. I think let's people join. Let's continue with our session actually. Okay, so let me give you one more time actually. If you are new, anyone are new today, let me give you the demo link. The demos are being started on Monday, and this has been the fourth day that the demo is been continuing, and the demos are going to be ended tomorrow. Not, I think it's today only. Demos are going to be ended today, Friday, and the link is going to be changed from Monday. You are going to receive a new link uh, to your mail IDs so that you will be using that link to join the sessions actually. Okay, let me share you initially the playlist, all the playlists that we have went through actually in the previous classes so that you can go through them. Okay, let me again share the playlist 1 second. Okay, I'm pasting the playlist link in the chat. Can you go through that actually? So this is a playlist where the 4 demo sessions have been there from Monday to Thursday, yesterday, and today is the last demo session. Okay, so there is a playlist that is located, and you can go through that. And what we have discussed as per the playlist, actually, let me give you an overview. Okay, so we have discussed the importance of DevOps and what is uh, what is a server, what is an application, what is SDLC, software development lifecycle process, and what is a physical server, what how people usually deploy their applications previously on the physical server. If you deploy the applications on a physical server, what are the disadvantages that we have because of the disadvantages that we have with the physical server? How the virtualization is evolved, what is virtualization? We have seen that, and what are the different disadvantages that we have with the virtualization? Okay, and you know because of the disadvantages of the virtualization, how the Docker is evolved, and we have seen the microservices architecture, how the microservices, what's the difference between monolithic application and the microservices, and we have seen how the application is deployed on the Kubernetes cluster or the servers. When the application is being developed by the developers, it will not be directly deployed. It undergo application will undergo many transitions in between the development and the deployment of the application to the servers. Actually, yesterday we have seen that, and the tools that you need to install, actually AWS CLI that you need to install, and the Docker you need to install. How you can install Docker, I'm going to tell you in the future sessions. The practicals we are going to start on Monday, and uh, the other thing I also said, how to create an hub.docker.com account. You need to create an account. You require an account to store your Docker images which you are going to build. Okay, so all these things we have seen in the in these demo classes, in the 4 different demo classes actually. Okay, in today's demo class, what we are going to see is all about the terminology that we are going to use in Docker. What are Docker images? What are Docker containers? What is Docker registry? What are the types of Docker registries that we have? What is a Docker daemon? Okay. Now, let me share my screen before doing that actually. So let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible, right? So here, let me deal with that actually. Okay, let me go here. This is a diagram that we have seen yesterday. Okay, now let me deal with one by one actually. Okay, so suppose we will be having a server. This is a server. One second. This is going to be the server. Okay, and we will be installing Docker in this server. We'll be installing Docker on this server. How to install, how to create a server, I'm going to tell you, do not worry about this. We are going to see very clearly in the practical sessions actually. Okay, so let me click on this, and this is going to be the server, and Docker is going to be installed in this server. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the terminologies of Docker? Let me write it here. Of Docker. Okay, so terminology of Docker. Okay, the terminology of Docker. Let me take this as Control B, and Control B should be something like this. Okay, the first terminology is Docker. Command B, Docker image. Okay, what is a Docker image? What is a Docker image that you need to understand? Okay, Docker image is nothing but a binary. Okay, binary means let me give you an example, real example actually. Okay, so suppose you want to play any game, right? You want to play any game. Okay, if you want to play any game in your laptop, what you are trying to do, what you will be doing is you will be downloading .exe file from the executable file from the internet, right? So the executable file from the internet, right? That file contains your game. That means game is nothing but an application, right? That file contains your game, but the game is not yet started, right? So what will happen when you double click that file, right? Your game will be started. Okay, that file is nothing but a binary that you are going to download. Okay, the file you are going to download is something like a binary in which your game is present, but not in a running format, right? In the same way, Docker image is nothing but a binary in which our application is going to be present, but it will not be it will not be in a running format. Okay, that's what the Docker image is. Docker image is nothing but a binary in which our application is present, but not in a running format. Okay, so this is the initial uh, definition I'm going to give you, because this Docker image is built on several layers. What are the layers and all? You are going to get that concept when when we go through the custom Docker images and all those things actually. So as of now, just remember, it's a binary in which our application is going to be present, okay, but not in a running format. Okay, if you go to hub.docker.com, if you go here, go to hub.docker.com in your browser, hub.docker.com. Okay, So if you go to this hub.docker.com, there are hundreds of thousands of images that are present here. Actually, you can see that this is a busybox image, this is an Nginx image, this is a Alpine image, okay, Neo4j image, MongoDB image, MySQL image, PostgreSQL image. You can see that there are hundreds and thousands of images that are available in the hub.docker.com, which deals with that particular tool. Actually, if you take this MySQL, it is a MySQL application, which this image contains MySQL application. It's a database or the application that is not in a running state. Actually, that's a Docker image. Okay, so any questions here, please? Is that clear, Docker image? Any questions? Is that clear, everyone? Yes.
How do we
Next.
Shiva, this is actually Docker is not running. Is there any indication of the status?
No, one second. Your voice is low. Can you speak it loudly, please?
Yeah, I'm just saying this. How do we identify with the what status of the Docker, whether it is running,
Mm.
not running, or suspended state?
No. You mean the Docker which we installed on the server?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have some commands. Okay, we can identify with like this. Okay, so you should once you installed on the once you install
Mm.
Docker on the
Mm-hmm.
server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you need to use something like this. We will be seeing in the future, but let me, as you
Okay.
asked,
Okay.
systemctl status Docker.
Okay.
Okay, you
Okay.
should use this one to check whether the
To
Docker
check
is
this.
running, and yeah,
Okay. Okay.
right. So that's the thing. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Now that's a Docker image. Okay, then what is a Docker container? In the next go, we need to deal with Docker container. Docker container. Okay, it's simple. Again, the running state of the image is called a Docker container. The running state of the Docker image is nothing but a Docker container, right? So here in the Docker image, what we have seen is our application is going to be present, but the application is not going to be in a running state inside the Docker image, right? When you take the Docker image and execute the Docker image, and the execution of Docker image will be converting the Docker image into Docker container, in which our application is going to be in a running state. Okay, so that's what the definition is. The running state of our Docker image is nothing but a Docker container. Okay, running state of our Docker image is Docker container. Okay, something like this. The running state of our Docker image is a Docker container. Inside the Docker container, our application will be in running state. Okay, our application will be in running state. But inside the Docker image, our application will be there, but not in a running state. That's what the difference, and that's what the Docker container is. Okay, now, next thing, Docker, Docker, Docker registry. Control B, Docker registry. Okay, what is Docker registry? What is Docker registry? And the place where we store Docker images, which we are going to create, is nothing but a Docker registry. The place where we store the Docker images is a is a Docker registry. Docker registry. Okay, there are two types of Docker registries. Okay, one is public Docker registry, public Docker registry. Okay, and the other one is going to be private Docker registry. Okay, private Docker registry. Okay, what is this public Docker registry and what is private Docker registry? See, what is Docker registry first? The place where we store the images in is called Docker registry. Okay, So if you store the Docker images in the public Docker registry, okay, the Docker images will be visible to everyone in the world. Okay, something like this. See, so these people, MySQL people, have stored this MySQL database in the public Docker registry. That is why I can able to see this MySQL image, and I can able to use this MySQL image actually. Okay, so this is a public image. So what you mean to understand, what I mean to you to understand, I want you to understand is, if you store the Docker images in the public Docker registry, the Docker images will be available, visible, or used by anyone in the world. Okay, that's a public Docker registry. Okay, it's a public actually. Okay, if if we store here, store Docker images here, it they will be visible to everyone in the world. Okay, something like this. Okay, if we store the Docker images in the private Docker registry, okay, we can also store the Docker image. If we store Docker images here, they will be accessible by only the organization people, are accessible to only the people who has the permissions to that registry. To that registry. Okay, so something like this. Okay, if you store the Docker images in the private Docker registry, so that Docker images will only be available to the people who has permissions to that particular registry. Okay, that's a private Docker registry. Okay, what is Docker registry? Docker registry is nothing but the place where we store our Docker images. Okay, uh, there are two types of Docker registries: public Docker registry, private Docker registry. If we store the Docker images, they will be visible to everyone in the world in the public Docker registry. And if you store the Docker image in the private Docker registry, they will be accessible to only the people who has the access to that particular registry actually. So that's a private Docker registry. And you need to also understand, per hub.docker.com account, per single hub.docker.com account, okay, you can only create one private Docker registry, and all will be public Docker registries. Okay, so you are allowed to only create one private Docker registry, and remaining are all public Docker registry. That's what you need to understand. Okay, so if you want to create multiple private Docker registry, you need to purchase subscription for this hub.docker.com. Anyway, we are not going to use this. If we want to do any private, we are going to use AWS ECR to store our Docker images as a privately. Sorry. Okay, that's a private Docker registry that we have. Okay. The next part, Docker host. What is Docker host? HOST. Okay. What is Docker host? The Docker host, the place where we install Docker, is nothing but a Docker host. The machine, okay, something like this. Let me suppose we install Docker on this particular machine, right? Virtual machine. This is a machine on which we have installed Docker, right? So this machine is nothing but a Docker host. Okay, the place where we install Docker is a Docker host. Docker, something like this. The place where we install Docker is nothing but a Docker host. Okay, so that's what the Docker host is. Docker host is actually. Okay, see here, if you install Docker on the server virtual machine, that's a Docker host. If you install Docker on your local machine, your laptop, then that's a Docker host. Okay, so that's a Docker host actually. Now you need to discuss what is Docker daemon. Okay, Docker daemon. Okay, so what is Docker daemon? That you also need to understand. Docker daemon is nothing but a background process which will be continuously listening for our Docker commands. Okay, the Docker daemon is nothing but a background process which is continuously listening for our Docker commands and perform necessary action based on the command that you give. Okay, this Docker daemon will be very clear when you install Docker and when we uh, go to the server and check that. Okay, let me start the Docker here if it's possible for me. Docker. Second, starting Docker on my machine, but I'm not going to use my local machine mostly. I'm going to use virtual machine servers not to deal with the Docker and all. Okay, the Docker has been started, and let me go to the terminal. If you go it here, okay, clear the screen. Let me increase the font. Okay, sudo su hyphen down to the password. Okay, let me move this to the bottom. Okay, now let me see whether this Linux command is working in my Mac. Systemctl status. No, systems is service. Let me check the service. No, service is also no. Okay, these are the Linux commands that is not working in my machine. That's fine actually. Okay, I'm going to show you this one. When you install Docker on the virtual machines on your AWS cloud. See, what is Docker daemon? Is nothing but a background process. See, if you see, I have started Docker on my local machine. So if I enter Docker commands, we are going to see these Docker commands. Okay, do not worry about that. I am going to explain these Docker commands. Okay, so Docker images, it is going to list all the Docker images present on my local machine. So these are the Docker images that are present on my local machine, right? So when you enter this command, there is some background process that is running on my machine. The background process which is related to Docker is running on my machine, which is continuously listening for these commands, and giving the output based on the command that you enter. Okay, so that's what the Docker daemon. What is the daemon? Daemon is nothing but a background process in a OS terminology, right? So here also, Docker daemon is nothing but a background process that will be continuously running in the background and continuously listening for our Docker commands and giving us the proper output. Okay, that's a Docker daemon. Okay, Docker daemon, it's a background process. Let me put that one. Docker daemon is a background process which will be continuously running in the background I'm listening for our Docker commands and perform respective operation. What is this respective operation? See here, Docker images. What I'm saying to Docker daemon, please list all the available Docker images. That's an operation. Okay, it is performing that particular operation. Who is responsible to perform this operation? Docker daemon. Okay, this command is listened by the Docker daemon and it is performing the respective operation. What is the operation I'm saying? Docker images, list of Docker images. It is saying it's listing Docker images. Okay. So okay, so that's what you need to understand.
I
Yeah,
have a
Docker.
question here.
Okay.
Are the developers create this Docker or the DevOps team create?
DevOps people are responsible to create the Docker, but in some organizations where developers also need to handle the DevOps activities, developers also will be creating in few of the organizations actually. But actually, the scenario is DevOps people, the Docker is there with the DevOps people hands actually. Okay, Docker will be DevOps people are responsible to handle with Docker, not the developers.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Docker info, which you are referring to, Hassan, Docker info will only give you the information of the Docker, right? So, what is that's also fine. Docker info is only give you the information of the Docker, but I want to show you the background process, Docker daemon. I want systemctl, the background process that is running. That is why I am using systemctl status Docker. Okay, so Docker info will work. Okay, anywhere it is going to work. Okay, but I want to show you the background process. It will not, Docker info will not show you the background of process. Okay, so that is running actually. Okay, that's why I'm using systemctl or the service. Okay, in the Linux, this systemctl is going to work because that supports that. But in my Mac is not supporting the systemctl. Okay, there is some other Mac command. There should be some other Mac command to deal with this systemctl. Okay, I need to check that again. Okay, have you got that? Yes. Okay, so that's a background process that is running in the continuously running and background running for our Docker commands and perform respective operation. Okay, that's a Docker daemon. Okay, so these are the terminologies that you need to understand before dealing with the Docker. Okay, now let me summarize all these things. What is Docker image? Docker means nothing but a binary in which our application is present but not in a running format. What is Docker container? Running state of our Docker image is called a Docker container. What is Docker registry? The place where we store our Docker commands is nothing but a Docker registry. What is public Docker registry? If we store our Docker image, in a public Docker registry that will be visible to everyone in the world. The Docker images are visible to everyone in the world actually. What is private Docker registry? If we store our Docker images in the private Docker registry, the Docker images which are stored in the private Docker registry will be only visible to the people who have access to that particular registry. That's a private Docker registry. What is Docker host? The place where we install Docker is called Docker host. What is Docker daemon? Docker daemon is a background process that will be continuously running in the background and listening for our Docker commands and perform respective operation. Okay, that's what the Docker daemon is. Okay, one second. Host is been doing this fine. Okay, that's a Docker daemon is. Okay, so that's a Docker daemon is. These are the few terminologies that we need to understand before dealing with the Docker images, containers, registry, host, Docker daemon, and all these things actually. Okay, so any questions, anyone, please, with this terminology and all? Any questions, anyone? Anyone have any questions? Okay, if no questions, let's deal with some of the Docker commands. Okay, so you already know one command, that is Docker images. So it will list all the Docker Docker images that are there in my laptop on my Docker host. Okay, not going to call the server from now. I'm going to call the Docker host. Okay, what is Docker host? The server on which we install Docker is nothing but a Docker host. That's what you need to understand. Okay. So here, when you install a Docker, you'll be when you download an image, you will be seeing the image name. This is an image. Okay. This is an image name. And the version, each image will be having a particular version. We refer that version as a tag. Okay. So, and each image will be having a unique ID that is called image ID. This is an image ID. And when it is created time, and the size of the image that we are going to have. Okay, so this is an explanation of the image. What is an image? You need, you know, you all we have already seen actually. Okay, what is a Docker image? Okay, so image name, okay, version, and the image ID, okay, and the created time and the size of the Docker image, right? So we have this is the thing actually. Okay, now how to download a particular Docker image. I want to download, if you see Docker images, you see Nginx is already there. I want to download Tomcat image. If you see, go here, go to Chrome and search for Tomcat, something like this. You are going to get Tomcat. One second, this is not, I want to visual Tomcat on. One second, whatever. I don't want to search it here. Or let me take MySQL, whatever. This one, MySQL image. I want to download this MySQL image. What you need to use, I want to download. There are many versions of this MySQL. If you go to tags, these are the different versions of the MySQL Docker image. Same single application, but multiple versions. Okay, multiple versions provides multiple different functionalities, right? So that's what different versions. Okay, so now I want to download this MySQL image. How to download? Docker full MySQL, right? So if you click on this, okay, you see that if you need to use the Docker pull command and the image name in order to download Docker images. Okay, by default, when you install Docker, the Docker is going to be downloading the images from hub.docker.com. This is a hub.docker.com where the Docker is going to be installing Docker images. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, now if you see, we have downloaded the Docker image, the MySQL Docker image. If you list the Docker images again, you will be able to see the MySQL is being downloaded just now. Okay, you can see that, but it created 6 weeks ago in the hub.docker.com, but it is downloaded just now actually. Okay, if you do not provide any tag, what we did here, Docker, where is that? Docker pull MySQL. We have used this command, right? Docker pull MySQL. Okay, we did not use any particular version it should be downloading. Okay, it will download the latest version of the MySQL. If you do not mention any particular version, it will download the latest version of the MySQL. If you want to mention any particular version, how you can mention actually, you can see that Docker pull MySQL colon the version name. I want to download specific version. These are versions, right? So I want to download specific version. That is this one. I want to download this version. This particular version. You need to mention this version name LTS in this particular place so that that particular version of MySQL Docker image will be downloaded onto your machine. Okay, you can see that here. Okay, so See, what it is doing is these are nothing but layers in Docker. Okay, what is the layers? You'll be understanding when we deal with custom Docker images. Okay, so do not worry as of now. You'll be understanding very soon about this. Okay, now if you see Docker images, you see that here. Where is that? MySQL is downloaded with the LTS version. What is the tag here? LTS. This is a LTS version of the Docker image, right? So whenever whenever the application code is going to be changed in real time, a new versions of the Docker images will be automatically created. Okay, that's what you need to understand. Okay. Okay, so that's a Docker images. So how to check all the running Docker containers? Okay, you need to use this command Docker container ls. Okay, you see that this is the command to check all the running Docker containers. Okay, so as of now, there are no running containers. If you want to check all the running and stopped containers, how to check? Okay, if you want to check all the running and stopped containers, Docker container ls-a. Okay, you will be seeing all the running containers and stopped containers. -a represents all. Okay, so -a represents all. Control command minus. If you see, these are all the stopped containers that is being listing, because there are no running containers. Actually, the Docker container ls-a will be listing all the running and stopped containers. How you are able to know this is the stopped container? Because that is there is the exited status. You can see that here. What is the status of this particular container? You see that here, exited status. So here, each container, when you execute Docker image as a container, each container will be having a container ID, and you will be seeing which image is being used in order to create this container. And this command you are going to get, we are going to see in the future what is this command and all. And when it is created, when this container is created 5 days ago, and what is the status? That means whether it is in a running state, whether the container is in a running state or not in a running state, that represents the status. And the ports on which the container is port forwarded, what is port forwarding or port mapping, we are going to see in the future, but don't worry as of now. And the name of the Docker container. Okay, so all these things, all this info that will be visible to you. Okay. Okay, if you want to understand the detailed information, okay, or if you want to understand, if you want to check the logs of that particular container, okay, how you can check? Copy the container ID, and if you need to enter Docker logs command and the container ID in order to check the logs. So these are all the logs that are generated by that particular container. Okay, you can see that here. These are all the logs that are generated by that particular container. Actually, when that container has been executed, okay, these are all the logs. By checking, logs are very important in real time. By checking the logs only, people understands that, right, where the problem exists, what's the problem, how to fix that. So all these things people will be understanding by checking the logs of that particular application which is there running inside the container. Okay, so this is how you need to check the logs of a particular container. Docker logs and the container ID. Okay, that's what you need to understand. Okay, the next command, if you want to understand the detail, let me clear the screen first. Okay, Docker images, Docker container ls, right? So ls-a, right? Docker container ls, because there are no running containers. So if you see Docker container ls will only list out the running containers. Okay, Docker container ls-a will list both running and the stopped containers. Okay, if you want to check the detailed information of that particular container, okay, you need to copy this container ID, Docker inspect inspect and the container ID you need to give. That will give you the detailed information of the Docker container and all the things actually where the logs of the Docker container has been stored and what's a different port mapping that has been done and what's the arguments and all the state of the Docker container and why it has been killed, what's the state, OM killed false, or so what is this actually. So all these things you will be able to see very clearly actually. Okay, so if you see it here, all these things, host name path, you can see that here, and the log path where the logs of the Docker container has been. So this you are going to get in the future, but not now. Just if you want to know, as of now, just remember, if you want to know detailed information of the container, you need to use Docker inspect command to understand the detailed information of the container. Okay, so if any environment variables are used, what are environment variables? We are going to see in the future sessions actually. Okay, so now see, both are same actually. Docker containerless and Docker PS both are same. When we when we uh, the old versions of the Docker is using Docker PS, and the new version of the Docker is going to be Docker containerless. Actually, they both are meant for listing the Docker containers. Actually, okay. So that's a thing. Okay. So yes. Okay. Now let me clear the screen. Okay. How like Docker container ls-a. So this is the Docker containers running actually. Okay. So now how we have inspected our Docker container, Docker inspect and the container ID, right? So in the same way, you can inspect the what is that? Uh, Docker image as well. In the same way, you can inspect the Docker image as well. Okay, if you see Docker images, okay, to understand the detailed information of the Docker image, you need to inspect. Let me copy the MySQL image. Just now we have downloaded. Okay, Docker inspect MySQL. Okay, you see that here. It will give you the detailed information of the Docker image. Okay, you can see that here, and the layer that is being created is an important section. You need to understand you in the future actually. So it will give you the detailed information of the Docker image actually. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. Docker image inspect MySQL. If you want to inspect a specific version of the MySQL, what you need to use? You need to use the same command, colon, I want to use LTS. Okay, I want to inspect this version of the MySQL which is there on my laptop, right? You need to use that particular version, tag at the end. Okay, so that particular version of the MySQL image will be inspected. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. Okay, let me clear the screen. Okay, so if you see that Docker images, okay, these are the different Docker images that are there on my machine, right? So I want to remove an image. I want to delete an image, right? How to delete an image? Let me copy this image name. Okay, let me copy this image name, Docker RMI, remove image and the image name. Okay, so there is some point that you need to remember before removing the image. But first, let me remove this and check. I'll let you know. Okay, so you can see that. Yeah, you see here, one point which I've mentioned is whenever you are removing the image, right? So this is the image that you are going to remove, Docker RMI. What is RMI? Is the remove image. Along with this image name that you are specifying, you also need to specify that particular version, okay, for removing that particular image. So colon, this one, you need to specify something like this. If the version of this image is latest, okay, you no need of specifying that particular version at the end while removing the image. If the version is not latest at this particular place when to the image, which you are trying to remove, then you need to specify that particular version or the tag in order to remove that particular image. You can see that. The second point, the first point is that one, along with the version, along with the image name, you also need to specify the version if that is other than the latest. Okay, you can see that v 1.0.0. That's a version that you need to uh, uh, give to the RMI command to remove that particular image. The second point that you need to remember is, if this image is used by any container, whether it might be in the running state container or whether it might be in the stopped state container. If the image is used by any container, then you cannot remove the image. First, you need to remove the container which is using that image, and then only you can remove the image, right? If you see that, if what it is saying, error response from daemon. Who is giving this response? Daemon, Docker daemon. Okay, conflict, unable to remove registry reference. This is the image that is unable to remove because container, this is the container, is using its referenced image. This is the one. Okay, so you can see that this is the image ID that is being used by our some container. First, you need to remove that container, Docker container ls -a. If you see that, where is that? Okay, 1 second. Container, there is this container, 1 second. 6.1 is not there, but it is not listing actually. But let me check here in the Docker desktop. Here is that. We go here, containers. These are all stopped container. Okay, anyway, let me remove this. It is not listing. I'm not need to check this actually. 1 second. This is a container ID. It is given the specifically the container ID. Let me copy this container ID, Docker RM and the container ID. Let me remove this. Here a response for daemon. You cannot remove this. And you can stop. Okay, stop the container. Okay, 1 second. This Docker container ls. Okay, this is not running, and it is saying it's running actually. 1 second, you cannot remove. Okay, let me remove this, but yeah, it will not. Docker RM. 1 second. Docker RM -f and the container ID strange actually. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, I can use -f if that's what I'm using. Okay, so it is removed. Okay, you can see that the container is removed, and you can now remove the image. You can see that here. You can see that here. The image is being removed, deleted. Okay, so what you need to understand from this point is you cannot remove the image which is used by the container. First, you need to remove the container. Then only you can remove the Docker image actually. Okay, so the other point you need to remember is how to remove the container. Docker RM -f and the container ID that you need to give actually. You can see that here, Docker RM -f and the container ID for the running containers. For stopped container, suppose I want to, this is stopped container. You can see that here, this is stopped container. I want to remove this container. You can see that here, I want to remove this container. What you need to use Docker RM only. You don't need of using -f for the stopped containers. It will be directly removing that particular container. Okay, for the Docker, for the running containers, I can use Docker RM -f to remove the running containers forcefully. -f means force. And for the stopped containers, you no need of using force option. You can directly remove the Docker container using Docker RM command along with the container ID, right? So that's what you need to understand. And after removing the image that is used by the containers, then only you can remove the image. Okay, if you want to forcefully remove the image, you can use -f. That's fine, but you need to understand this point actually. Until and unless you remove the container which is using that image, you should first remove the container only, then only you need to remove the image. That's the point that you need to understand. That's why I explained this. Okay. So those are the few commands that need to be required, that need to be. There are more commands yet to come. We are going to see in the future, but yeah, you need to understand these few commands before moving further actually. Okay. So in the next class, what we are going to do, in the next class, we are going to look into the AWS environment. Okay. And we are going to create a virtual machine. Okay. What is virtual machine and all these things? How I'm going to show you how to create a virtual machine and all. And we are going to install Docker, and we are going to take Linux-based machine, and we are going to install Docker on that particular virtual machine, and we are going to use Docker commands, and we will be seeing everything in the AWS Linux server. Okay, so that's what we are going to see. Okay, see the next class. Okay, everything in a practical from the next class. Actually, I think the practical sessions are started from today. That's fine. Actually, that's fine. Okay, now uh, that's a class for today. If you have any questions, you can ask here. Actually, any questions anyone has, please.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, tell me.
I just have one doubt. So
Mhm.
we will be going to learn only Elastic Kubernetes, or we will install our own Kubernetes on creating cluster, load balancer, and all.
No. I will be showing how to only create the Kubernetes cluster from scratch, like we're using Kubedium. Okay, but mostly we are going to perform the activities on EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, because that's a service where the people are using in the real time. I want to go with the real time activity, how the people are using in the IT. So yeah, we are going to use mostly the EKS, but installation of Kubernetes cluster using Kubedium, I'm going to show you.
It's both like ECA, EKS, and like there is one more configuration in AWS, Fargate configuration, and this
Yeah,
all.
EKS forget profiles are also there. Yeah, we are also going to use that. No problem for that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what way, Mr. Shiva, what way it differs using the EKS and basically the individual installation of the KTS?
The difference is,
Hmm. Hmm.
there are two types of nodes in the
Hmm.
Kubernetes cluster. Okay. One is the master node and the
Hmm.
worker nodes actually.
Hmm.
Worker nodes is the place where you are going to deploy your applications. Okay.
Hmm.
Master node is a place, they are the components that are there in the master node are responsible for managing the entire Kubernetes cluster. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
there are two types of nodes, master and worker. So
Uh-huh. Hmm.
in case of EKS, this master node and the master node components, AWS is responsible for managing that installation and upgradation and whatever the security patching, applying security things, all these things. AWS is responsible. We are not going to respond. We are not. We will not be able to see that master node itself. First of all, we will be able to see only the worker nodes. Okay, in the AWS EKS. But in case of old way of using Kubernetes, using like COPS or Kubedium or whatever. Okay, so we are responsible. We are responsible of maintaining everything along with the master node components, along with this whatever applications or whatever. Okay, everything we are responsible for doing that. But the IT is not using the old way of using Kubernetes cluster. They are using the cloud provider Kubernetes clusters, like AWS EKS, AKS or GKE from the Google Cloud, and AKS from the Azure, and the EKS from the AWS, right? So we are going to use them actually.
So that pattern, will you going to take through us for the individual master node?
Yeah, what are the components that are present in the master node and why they are responsible for that? I'm going to take you through people.
Okay.
There no problem. Okay, but we are not going to maintain. We are going to use EKS. I'm saying. Okay.
Okay. So, and extended to that, we are always taking with respect to the AWS, not Azure, in this our course.
Yes, with respect to AWS.
With this respect to,
But the concepts which we are learning here.
Mhm.
Okay, the cluster might be in AWS, the cluster might be in Azure, the cluster might be in GCP. But the concepts we are universal. Well, the concepts applies to EKS, the concepts applies to AKS, the concepts applies to GKE
Azure.
also.
Okay.
But the cluster might be in different places, right? So there is no, there is nothing. The cluster only will be in different places. The concepts are same.
Okay, so maybe certain commands compared to AWS and Azure, they may change or it will be almost same.
Yeah, with respect to EKS, there is something called EKS CTL commands which we use in order to create the cluster and all.
Okay.
Those command is going to be changed. The creation of the cluster, mainly the commands which related to the creation of the cluster is going to be changed between the clouds actually. But the concepts, the commands which related to Kubernetes will be same.
Okay. So the concept is same, it's only just okay. Okay, no problem. But we are, and in entire course, we are not going with reference to Azure anywhere.
No. We are not going towards Azure because that will not provide us the accounts because you understand, right? The free account or the free account will be only for 1 month. We cannot manage the dealing with Kubernetes with that particular place, with that particular time frame. Okay.
The AWS will give more than I think it's a year, more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. And apart from that, just it's out of the interest question, do you also have any training similar to the this one in the in Azure?
No, I do not provide any Azure trainings in the DURGASOFT.
Okay, no problem. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions?
Next class will be on Monday, same time, right?
Yeah, Monday same time, and the link is going to be changed. If anyone did not register and like a course, please go ahead and register register the course, and the details are there in the chat. Okay, pasted by DURGASOFT. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. What's the administration number, please? Can you put in the chart so that
administration number?
Yeah.
1 second. Let me think. Where is that? Okay, it should be something like this.
Okay.
And please do remember, we are going to create a Slack channel or some Telegram group where we start our course actually, so that you can ask your questions when you are practicing in that particular place. So we will be there to solve that. And yeah, that's
What about material? Do you supply any soft copy or this one?
Yes, I told you, right? So regarding Docker, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the soft copies. And regarding Kubernetes, I'm going to pass you the manifest files, which we are going to use. And regarding Jenkins, we are going to use, we are going to pass soft copies, and AWS also soft copies.
Okay. 1 moment, let me take down that number so that it will disappear. Okay.
Yeah, just we have another 2 numbers also. Yeah, if that does not work, just
we cannot able to copy those things. That's the problem. Maybe anything
Yeah,
that's
understand.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that's let me take down that. Okay, what is this? Yeah. I think it's take the picture, that will be easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. That's the thing. That's the class for today. And tomorrow, Monday, we are going to join. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for everyone. I'll meet you in the next class. Thank you. Bye.